Hello, and welcome to Spirit Among Us. Are you aware of the great salvation that's been offered to you? Are you aware of just how amazing the salvation given from Jesus Christ really is? This week we've been talking a lot about that. We started off by talking about how we all have an unpayable debt. We owe God, and we can't pay Him back. We owe Him so much, it's impossible for us to ever pay it off. It's impossible for us to ever pay Him back. But Jesus has taken that debt and paid for it in full on the cross. In addition to that, we also looked at how we are deserving of judgment. We deserve the eternal torment of hell because of the sins in our lives, because of the ways we have broken God's law again and again. As lawbreakers in this life, that is what we deserve, prison. But we have been spared from that. And finally, yesterday we looked at how we are actually enemies of God. Before we come to know who Jesus is, He says, if you are not with me, you are against me. Everyone who is born into this world is born opposed to God's way, to God's will, and to God's plan. All of us were opposed and were enemies of God, but Jesus still died to save us. And now today, what I want to look at is that besides all of those things, in addition to that, we are also children of wrath. Let's take a look at Ephesians chapter 2, verses 1 and 2. And you were dead in the trespasses and sins in which you once walked, following the course of this world, following the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that is now at work in the sons of disobedience. This is a letter that Paul wrote addressing the church of Ephesians. These were believers. These were Christians, people who had been saved. And he wasn't talking to specific people. He was talking to every single believer that was in that church, saying that they were dead in the trespasses, in sins, in which they used to walk. The way they used to live was a life of death. They were dead. They had no life in them. And in the same way, in our lives, when we are born into this world, we are born dead. We are born without life. Dead in trespass and sin. Dead in evil, in our own flesh and evil desires. Following the course of this world. Following the prince of the power of the air. So look at this. Before knowing Christ, not only are we opposed to Him, not only are we His enemies, but we are actually working for His greatest enemy. Following the prince of the power of the air, that is the devil. That is Satan. Before we knew Christ, according to this chapter in Ephesians, we were following the devil. We were dead in sin and trespasses, and we were following the rest of the world. We were following Satan himself. So not only were we enemies of God, we were actually on the side of the devil. Let's continue reading in verses 3 and 5. Among whom we all once lived in the passions of our flesh, carrying out the desires of the body and the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, like the rest of mankind. But God, being rich in mercy because of the great love with which He loved us, even when we were dead in our trespasses, made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved. Now it's key here that Paul says, among whom we all once lived. He makes it clear. He's not just talking to the church in Ephesians. He's not just talking to the believers that are there. He's talking about his own life, himself. We all once lived in this way. We all used to be following Satan. We all used to be dead in our trespasses and our sins, following the passions of the flesh, carrying out the desires of the mind and the body, And we were all, by nature, by our very nature, children of wrath. Children of wrath, like the rest of mankind. You see, without Jesus, there is no way. There is no way to fix this. We are born into this world as children of wrath. We are born into this world serving the devil. We are born in our sin and in our trespass. We are born as children of wrath. And without Christ, there's no way out of that. We are destined for failure, destined for destruction. But God, being rich in mercy, because of His great love, even when we were dead in our trespasses, made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved. How great is this salvation that we have. Let us never forget what God has saved us from. Let us not forget the great love Jesus showed us on the cross by dying for us, even when we were children of wrath. Thank you for watching, and God bless.